There's a term that's emerged on social media in the last few years, pavement princess. It describes a specific person, usually young, usually photographed standing next to a car that costs more than their annual income. The car's always pristine, the lighting is always perfect, and the person is always, and I mean always, complaining about money. What's fascinating isn't the contradiction, it's that this contradiction has become so normalized that nobody questions it anymore. You scroll through Instagram and you see it. Expensive car, luxury vacations, constant financial stress. The posts about being broke come out the same week as the posts from a beach in Cancun. In 2024, the average car payment in America hit $738 a month. That's nearly $9,000 a year for something that loses 15% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. But more than that, the number of people financing cars at 6 to 7% interest has hit a 10-year high. Young people specifically are underwater on car loans more than any other generation in American history. But here's the real story. The pavement princess phenomenon isn't actually about cars. It's about a financial trap that's been engineered so precisely that most people don't even realize they're in it. And the worst part? The trap doesn't care if you can afford it. It's designed for people who can't. Let me introduce you to a person. Her name is Sam. She's 26. She makes about $50,000 a year before taxes, which means her take-home is roughly $32,000. That's about $2,700 a month after all deductions. Sam decides she wants a 2023 BMW. Not new, used. 3 years old, $38,000. Now, Sam doesn't have $38,000 sitting around, but a dealership can fix that problem instantly. They offer her financing. They show her a monthly payment, $389 a month for 60 months. That's 5 years. That number sounds manageable. It's 14% of her monthly take-home. The salesperson has done the math for her. They've made it hurt a little bit less. They know exactly what number will feel affordable while still maximizing their margin. But here's what they haven't said. That $389 payment assumes she has a decent credit score. Sam's credit is fine, not great, so she's actually paying it at 6.9% interest. That means the total amount she'll pay over 5 years isn't $38,000, it's $43,000. She's paying $5,000 for the privilege of driving this car today instead of in 5 years. That's the interest tax on impatience. And dealerships count on this. They know most people won't do the mental math. They see the monthly payment and stop calculating. But here's what's worse. If Sam's credit was bad, if she had missed some payments or had some collections, that interest rate would be 12 to 16%. I've seen rates that high. At 16%, that same $38,000 car would cost her $54,000 over 5 years. $54,000. That's the price she'd pay for having a blemished credit history and wanting a BMW. But the real trap hasn't started yet. Here's what most financing doesn't account for, and here's where the system gets clever. It's called negative equity, and it's the mechanism that keeps people trapped in a cycle. On day one, Sam drives the BMW off the lot. It immediately loses value, not gradually, immediately. Like you've paid for the privilege of the smell of new leather for approximately $2,000. Luxury vehicles depreciate 18 to 22% in the first year alone. BMW, closer to 22. After year one, that $38,000 car is worth roughly $30,000. Sam still owes about $31,000 on the loan. She is now underwater. She owns less than she owes. The gap is $1,300. This is the architecture of the trap. The dealership knew this would happen. They've done this calculation 10,000 times before. They're betting on it. They're building the trap into the numbers from the start. Now Sam reaches month 19. Something happens to the car. Not catastrophic, but real. The transmission makes a weird noise. She takes it to a BMW dealer. The diagnosis costs $200. The fix costs $3,000. She doesn't have $3,000. Her monthly budget is already tight. Rent is $1,200, insurance is $160, that $389 car payment, gas, food, streaming subscriptions she's forgotten about, phone bill, a social life. It all adds up to nearly every dollar she makes. But she still needs the car. She can't just not have a car. So she does what most people do. She puts it on a credit card. 3% interest rate at first, but she can't pay it off immediately, so it becomes 17% interest. She's now carrying car debt and credit card debt simultaneously, and the car hasn't even finished depreciating. The credit card sits there, growing. She makes minimum payments. It becomes a background hum of anxiety. 18 months in, Sam decides she wants a new car anyway, a newer model. She loves the look of the new generation. She sees it on Instagram. Someone she follows has one. She goes back to the dealership and trades it in. Her trade-in value is $28,000. She owes $31,000 on the loan. Plus, she still owes $3,000 on the credit card for the repair. That's a total of $34,000 in debt against a car worth $28,000. That's $6,000 in negative equity. The dealership doesn't forgive it. They roll it into the new loan. They do this with a pitch. We'll get you into a newer, more reliable vehicle. You won't have these repair issues anymore. Now she's borrowing for a new $50,000 car, plus the $6,000 she's already underwater on. She's $56,000 in debt. Her monthly payment goes up. It's now $488 a month. That's about 18% of her monthly take-home, well above the recommended 10%. She's now paying more for a depreciating asset than she was before, and she's convinced herself it's a good deal because the new car is more reliable. It won't break down like the last one. Except new cars do break down. The warranty lasts 3 years. After that, you're paying out of pocket. And even if this new car doesn't break down, the depreciation clock has reset. This $50,000 car is losing $8,000 to $10,000 in value right now. Let me show you what happens when we extend this pattern across 10 years, because this isn't a one-time thing. This is a system people get locked into. This is the cycle that repeats. Year 1. Car payment is $389. Insurance, gas, registration. Total out-of-pocket, $5,800. Year 2. New trade-in after negative equity rollover. New payment is $488. She's paying more but drives something newer. Total spent that year, $7,200. She feels like she's upgrading. Year 3, another new car. Same pattern. Payment is now $512. The negative equity from the last trade-in gets rolled over. She's not even sure anymore what portion of her payment is going to debt versus what she originally borrowed. Total year spend is $9,500. Year 4 and 5, the cycle continues. Each time, the new car is slightly more expensive. She wants heated seats now, better sound system, panoramic sunroof. These things add thousands, but they're built into the monthly payment, so they don't feel real.
By year 5, Sam has spent approximately $56,000 on cars. She owns no car. She has zero equity. If she stopped today, her net worth would be $56,000 lower than it was 5 years ago. And she doesn't even own the car. She could stop making payments tomorrow and the bank would repossess it. But she won't stop. She'll keep going. By year 10, if we project this forward, Sam will have spent approximately $130,000 on cars. That's almost 2.5 times her annual salary. 2.5 times on transportation alone. Here's the part that gets darker. That $130,000, if she had invested it instead in a basic index fund that returned 7% annually, would be worth approximately $250,000 today. She didn't just lose $130,000, she lost $120,000 in opportunity cost. Think about that. By the time she's 36 years old, she's lost $250,000 in wealth potential, all for cars she never owned, all for depreciation and interest and the maintenance costs of luxury vehicles, all for the status of being seen next to something expensive. That's not a mistake. That's the real cost of the trap. Now you might be wondering, why do this? Why not just drive a Honda? Why not buy a 5-year-old Accord outright and keep it for 10 years? Why not drive a used Corolla and dump the difference into an investment account? Because no dealership makes money off that person. No finance company makes money off that person. No insurance company makes money off that person. And critically, that person doesn't get the social validation. But they make enormous money off Sam, and they've built a system specifically to keep her in that seat. The first mechanism is anchoring. When you walk into a dealership, the first car you see is the one they want you to buy. It's not the cheapest, it's the one with the best margins. You feel like you're getting a reasonable deal when they offer you something slightly cheaper. You're not. You're just anchored to a higher number. It's a negotiation trick that works so well, it's almost boring how effective it is. The second mechanism is framing. A $400 monthly payment sounds innocent. It's less than rent. It's less than a student loan, so it must be fine. But it's not. It's about what it costs relative to other things. It's about what you could do with that $400 over 30 years. Invested in an index fund, that's $520,000. The third mechanism is behavioral. Humans want status. We want to be perceived as successful. A pavement princess isn't buying a car. She's buying the perception of wealth. She's buying a costume. The dealership knows this. They've turned the car into a status symbol. You wear it. You're on Instagram in front of it. You feel like you've made it. The system exploits a genuine human need and weaponizes it. It takes the desire to be seen as successful and turns it into a financial trap that prevents you from actually becoming successful. But there's a layer most people don't even calculate. It's not just the payment and the depreciation, it's the ecosystem of cost that builds around an expensive car. These are the invisible costs that nobody mentions when they're showing you the monthly payment. Luxury cars require premium fuel. That's an extra $60 a month compared to regular unleaded. Over 5 years, that's $3,600. But over 10 years, as the car gets older and the fuel prices might increase, you're looking at closer to $7,000 just in fuel premiums.
Insurance on a $40,000 BMW costs roughly $160 to $180 a month. Insurance on a $10,000 Honda costs about $80 to $90. That's $90 a month difference. Over 5 years, that's $5,400. Over 10 years, that's nearly $11,000 more just to insure the luxury vehicle. Maintenance. A BMW is under warranty for the first 3 years, but in years 4 and 5, when something breaks, you're paying luxury repair prices. Brake pads are $200, a water pump is $500, an oil change is $80. Compare that to $95 for the Honda. Spark plugs are $180. On a Honda, they're $40. Registration and taxes on a $40,000 vehicle are higher than on a $10,000 vehicle. In most states, that's another $300 to $500 a year. Over 10 years, that's another $4,000 to $5,000. But here's what really costs. One major repair, a transmission failure, an engine issue. On a 10-year-old BMW out of warranty, that's not a $3,000 problem. That's an $8,000 to $12,000 problem. And if Sam doesn't have it, she's financing it. She's rolling it into a new car loan. She's perpetuating the cycle. Add it all up, and that BMW isn't costing $389 a month. It's costing closer to $650 when you include insurance, fuel, maintenance, and taxes. That's almost 24% of Sam's monthly take-home income, devoted entirely to transportation. The pavement princess phenomenon isn't new. The mechanism is old. It's called lifestyle inflation. It's been happening for 50 years. What's changed is the visibility. Instagram and TikTok have made it visible. They've made it enviable. They've made it seem not just normal, but aspirational. It's the social media effect on financial decision-making. What we're watching is a generation making a specific financial choice with perfect clarity about how it works and doing it anyway. Because the cost of not doing it, socially and psychologically, feels higher than the financial cost. That's not stupidity. That's rational within the constraints of a particular social system. But here's what that social system doesn't tell you. The wealthy people you're looking at online, the ones with the expensive cars and the Instagram aesthetic, they're not financing cars. They're buying them outright with money they've already made, or they're leasing them as a business write-off. They're not trapped in the negative equity cycle. They're not rolling over debt from one car to the next. They're not paying interest to a bank to drive something depreciating. They've already made it past the point where a car payment matters. They've built wealth first. The car is the reward, not the cost. You're modeling the behavior of people who are already rich and using that behavior as a shortcut to get there. It doesn't work that way. That's the real scam hidden inside the scam. The system makes you feel like you're on the same path as people who are already wealthy. You're not. You're on the path that prevents you from ever getting there. Here's the question that should bother you. If you spent the next 10 years not buying status cars, if you took that $130,000 and invested it instead in an index fund, returning 7% annually, you'd have $250,000. $250,000. That's a down payment on real estate. That's the start of actual wealth. That's the difference between being broke at 45 and having options. But instead, you'll have a collection of photographs in front of expensive cars and a net worth of zero. Thank you, Legends, for watching this video.